Good evening, everybody. So this is actually my review of Nara air hardening clay, which we acquired at Hobby Lobby. It's really cheap. It's like $4. We got some of this before. Michael and I were kind of making mainly these guys right here. So here is you want to make a spider, right? And so using, it's not perfect. We kind of added more to it this weekend, but basically we did as we kind of did with this guy here, which is made from a different epoxy. It's from Milliput, which I actually really prefer. But basically, you see the bones made out of thick copper wire. I acquired this stuff from job sites, and I can either recycle it or I can recycle it this way. So I'm choosing to do it this way because my son and I get to have a good time with this. So we did that with the spider. We did it with this interesting creature, this three-headed, weird thing from a video game or YouTube channel with video game stuff. I can't remember the name of this critter, but basically until this weekend, it was just the head and the body. The rest of it was copper wires for the tail and the legs, and they were moving around and everything. So now, I put that together basically kind of like I did most of the work on the spider beforehand at his behest, right? However, you've got his previous work. He made this sort of weird fish thing using Milliput, right? Didn't finish it. There's still cracks in it. If we rub some fresh Milliput in between those cracks, it'll harden nicely, and then we can sand it. But he did this one using, and you can see little bits of aluminum foil in there. He did this one from foil and from the Nara hardening clay. Previously, and I mentioned this in this other one, he made this guy, and you can still kind of see right there a little bit of the foil. He did 3 of these with different colored Play-Doh, and I said, Michael, why don't we make one of these out of Milliputty? Because we tend to call it Milliputty. It's just easier to say. And so, he did that one. Well, this weekend he did this one. Now, the only thing I did on this one really is basically take some copper wire and shove it through this thing. He already built it. He has a tendency to build these things before actually putting bones in them, and I'm trying to break him of that habit, right? But then you got this guy right here. Let me get these out of the way. So this critter right here, it's like a demigorgon. We just started watching Stranger Things. We just powered through season 1 and at least halfway through season 2 in the last couple days. And anyhow, so this guy, first thing we did was I had to make the head and the body. And I think he did that without having any sort of, did we actually add bones into that? Maybe. And then what we did is we added the legs and the tail, I think on Saturday, and basically let that harden. I told him, let it sit like this. And then Sunday, he put the arms together. So basically, he followed my instructions, and actually, he's 6 years old, and I'm actually really proud of him for what he's accomplished with this guy. It went from me doing like at least half the work for him on these bigger things, and him doing all the work on the smaller things, to now he's making bigger stuff on his own, and it's gonna look cool. Now, here's the thing. It looks very blobby right now. He wants to do some veins, and he was going to leave like the leg. I think it was this leg right here, with part of the copper bone sticking out because he wanted to have veins. I said, no, Michael, we can literally add veins. I put this little like piece of vein here. I said, look, once it's done, we're going to go ahead and slather it with more of the Nara air hardening clay, right? And then we'll use our styluses, our modeling spoons. There's a couple of these with dots on them on each end. They're different sizes. He's good with those things, with oil clay. So I want him to start doing that with this guy and really start just, Now, the only problem with this Nara air hardening clay is it is more flexible. It's not just because I didn't give it the hardest skeleton, because literally the body here was aluminum foil with a piece of metal rod inside of it. And then we started poking these arms and legs into that same body with this clay, or with aluminum foil and the clay over it. That's what you do to save clay, is you have to use some type of filler, right? In the end, once you make this look as fancy as what you see on the logo, you got some type of cool looking, you know, dragon thing, that could be done. Okay, and you see there's a metal stylus with a ball in the end. I'm going to have Michael doing something like that with these. And I'm sure he's going to get it done, and it's going to look cool. Because I bought 3 packs of this stuff this week, and I had 1 pack of it before. It stretched quite a ways, considering I did use a lot of aluminum foil in this and copper wire. But that being said, we've gone through only one of these this weekend, and we got this guy. We added the legs and tail on this guy. We did some filler on this guy. And there's still a little tiny piece over there that he just left on the floor like I told him not to do. Okay. You know, 6-year-olds, right? But that's the thing. So this is cool stuff. You can make it look really nice like on the package, but it's it's going to be a little bit trickier to make it like some hard, solid piece like this. Like, it's not going to get as hard as this. I still prefer Milliput, but it is more expensive. And yeah, you're going to go through a lot of it and get very little by comparison. I'll show you guys other examples of that. Actually, this guy right here, this is going to be an original character, a robot character I drew a couple years back. So stay tuned for that. But basically, half of this head is aluminum foil. Like most of this body is aluminum foil. There's aluminum foil for the waist and for this spiny part of it, right? Which might even get a little bit narrower. But anyway, this was from a leftover piece of Milliput that was almost an entire like pack of it, right? Just sitting in a plastic bag for a couple months and not mixed together yet. And that's what you get from, you know, like almost a whole pack right there, and using aluminum foil. Well, this stuff here, it does stretch further, okay? It really does stretch further, but you're still going to be using filler, but it's also going to take longer to dry. Like, this thing was like dry to the touch in a couple hours. Like, yeah, this stuff here, you scratch it, it feels like it wants to come apart. It feels more rubbery. So it kind of depends. Like, you want something that feels like an actual plastic toy, go with Milliput. If you want more material, more bang for your buck, especially when you're kind of like experimenting early on, definitely try Nara. It is cool. Like, maybe I should actually use some of this stuff for myself, but I got it mostly for my boy. It comes in white. Yeah, this is like, 17.5 ounces. It's cool stuff. It really is cool stuff. But, yeah, it says once dried, it is hardened and durable. I don't know how durable this stuff is. If I were to that ball in the corner over there, like, literally it's not, it's been dry for like a day. Give another 24 to 48 hours and maybe it'll be like solid. It is a solid piece of the stuff, so I'm gonna have to use that as a basis of comparison later on as we start getting more of the stuff kind of done. But as far as durability, like, I can still feel the crinkliness a little bit of the foil. This, zero crinkliness. Zero. Like, this guy right here, I can see the foil right here, but you can't feel it by squeezing it. This, you can feel it. It still feels gummy, okay? Again, I'll give it another like 24 to 48 hours and see. This has been solid for a while, but it's kind of hard. It is kind of hard, actually, as time goes on. So I should really kind of recant what I said a little bit. but it's still like, I can still feel a bit of air pockets inside of it. You can't get the air pockets in this, or, you know, but you can feel it in this stuff even after it's, you know, like this has been kind of, well, this is more solid actually, but there's also a lot more material added to it initially. This guy, I mean, the legs are pretty solid actually, come to think. I should give more credit where it's due, but this has more of a plaster of Paris feel about it. Almost a rubbery plaster of Paris, but not chalky. Like, it's not going to like scrape and, you know, like you're going to be breathing chalk dust. Okay. That's not going to happen unless you probably, you know, take a orbital sander to this thing or whatever. Right. But, it is good material to play with though, especially for younger kids who are just kind of cutting their teeth on sculpting and doing art. So I do recommend it, especially because it is so cheap. Okay. But then you're going to want to graduate to something more like this material wise. I mean, obviously this still has some work to do, but you guys saw my other toys or figurines that we're working on. This, which is still in the very early stages, like that's pretty durable. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that guy further worked on. But anyway, this is my review of Nara air hardening clay. I like it. Go ahead and get some. This is going to stretch you quite a ways, especially if you're using wire and foil as filler. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time.